Hello, my name is Patty Faria, and I'd like to welcome you to Faria Dairy. We've been in the dairy business for over 50 years, and it's definitely a labor of love. In talking about dairy cows, there's two different kinds of cattle. There's dairy cattle that produce milk, and then there's beef cattle. They're built completely different, and generally the number one question I get asked is, why are your cows so skinny? Well, it's not that they're skinny, it's that they're designed to produce milk. In California, the average production of a Holstein cow, which are the black and white ones, is 8 gallons per day. We milk our cows twice a day, although there's other dairies milk 3 times. We raise our heifer calves. A baby calf, when it's born, weighs between 70 and 95 pounds. They are up and standing within an hour after birth, and our goal is to keep them as healthy as possible. We give them 2 bottles of colostrum, which is the first milk that the cow produces. When a baby calf is born, first of all, the gestation period for a cow to have a baby is the same as humans. It's 40 weeks. And when the calf is born, it is up and standing within an hour. And we pride ourselves in making sure that that calf gets not only the cow's first milk, colostrum, which we collect and at the next milking, and we either freeze it or use it immediately. A calf needs to have a gallon, which is 2 bottles, within 6 hours of birth. The gestation period of a cow is the same as humans. It's 40 weeks, and the last 2 months of a cow's lactation, she doesn't go to the barn to give milk. That's her resting time, getting ready, and all of the nutrients go towards the calf. When the calf is actually born, we make sure that its navel is dipped with iodine so no bacteria enters the calf, and we also give it 2 bottles of colostrum, which is the first milk that the cow makes. It is full of her antibodies, and if we have extra colostrum, we freeze it, and so there's always a ready supply of milk, first milk for the calves. The calf is then taken from the mother, and she or he is brought to our calf area where the calf feeders continue to take care of them. We only raise our females, which are called heifer calves. The bull calves are generally sold to grow up to be possible meat cows. It takes about 2 years for a heifer to grow up. She's bred at about 15 months, and then once she produces a baby, like all mammals have to produce a baby before they produce milk, she goes to the barn, and the whole milking lactation starts all over again. Baby calves usually weigh between 70 and 95 pounds. Multiple births happen. Twins are very common. Triplets are less so. Different breeds of dairy cows are the Holstein, the black and white cows that you see. They also come in red and white. There's many different breeds of dairy cows. However, the most popular and the one that you'll see here on our dairy are called Holsteins. They're the big black and white ones, and they produce approximately 8 gallons of milk a day. The second most popular breed in California, at least, is the Jersey. She's the smaller cow and doesn't produce as much milk, but because California is a cheese state, so much of our milk goes to produce cheese. Her components, her fat and her protein, are excellent for making cheese. The other lesser breeds are Guernsey, the Brown Swiss, which is a dual purpose. There are many different breeds of dairy cattle, but the most popular in the entire world is the Holstein. She's the black and white one, and she also comes in red and white. She is the most prominent breed that you'll see here today on our dairy. Secondly would be the Jersey, which there's many different breeds of dairy cattle. but the most popular in the entire world is the Holstein. This is the breed that you will see today on our dairy, and she produces approximately 8 gallons of milk a day. Other breeds, and second most popular in California, is the Jersey. The Jersey is a smaller cow and doesn't produce as much milk, but her components, her fat and protein, are excellent for making cheese. And in California, cheese is a big factor in the dairy business. Other breeds include the Guernsey, which is my personal favorite. They're about the same size as the Holsteins, but and very mild tempered. They're known for their golden rich milk. It has an almost yellow color to it. Other lesser breeds are the milking shorthorn, the brown Swiss, and again, there's many other breeds that produce milk for the dairy world. California's #1 agricultural product is dairy, is milk production and its byproducts. 46% in California of the milk produced goes to produce cheese. Milk in California is the #1 agricultural commodity produced. Of that milk, 46% of it goes to making cheese in California. So California has outdone Wisconsin in cheese production. So it's a very vital part of our agricultural community, especially in the San Joaquin Valley. So when a baby calf is born, it generally weighs between 70 and 95 pounds. The first thing that we like to do is dip the calf's navel to protect it from bacteria entering its body, and we give it 2 bottles or 1 gallon of colostrum. Colostrum milk is the first milk that a cow produces, and it passes on her antibodies to the baby calf. After the calf is taken from its mom, it's raised for about 4 months in our calf area. At that point, the heifer calf is weaned and she is moved out in a group situation until she's about a year to 15 months old, when she's bred, and then she's pregnant for 40 weeks, and she becomes then, once she gives birth, a milk cow. Once a cow enters the barn, she is milked twice a day and produces approximately 8 gallons of milk per day. Our milking parlor has been renovated many times, starting with a flat barn, which is where the cows are and the milkers are at the same level. Then we went to a herringbone barn, a double 8, which means 8 cows on each side. And most recently, we've renovated the barn to be a double 16 with rapid exit. So there's 16 cows on each side, and when the cows leave the barn, the side comes up and they exit all at one time, which really allows us to milk more animals at a quicker rate than we could before. Here we milk about 900 cows, and they're generally lined up waiting to come into the barn. They like to be milked. Our machines are calibrated so when they have automatic takeoffs where the machine will come off when she's no longer producing milk, and the suction on the machines is calibrated to be what a baby calf, the same pressure as a baby calf would suck on the mother. The milk is then chilled. It has to be less than 35 degrees. The milk comes out of the cow at 102 degrees. That's her normal body temperature. And it is chilled down to approximately 35 degrees. The milk goes into a holding tank and is picked up here twice a day. Our tank holds about 5,000 gallons. Our milk that we produce here at Faria Dairy goes to make cheese. 46% of the milk in California that's produced is used for making cheese. 46% of the milk produced in California goes to make cheese. The rest of the milk is for all the fluid milks that we all drink, ice cream, yogurts, any of the dairy products. Okay. The milk is picked up twice a day. A mature dairy cow weighs between 1,200 and 1,500 pounds. In order for her to produce the milk that she does, she obviously eats and drinks a lot. 90 pounds of feed a day is what a normal milk cow will eat. She'll drink anywhere between 30 and 50 gallons of water per day. Here and on most dairies as well, we feed commodities. We're standing in a commodity barn right now, and there's so many byproducts that go into our ration. In the old days, it was just hay and maybe grain, but now we're using products that we're filling up our landfills and find that not only does the cow do well with them, it takes a great deal of feed to produce 8 gallons of milk per day, and our dairy cows eat approximately 90 pounds of a mixed ration. All cattle, regardless of beef or dairy, are what we call ruminants. What that means is that there's 4 compartments to their stomach. They chew their cud, and by doing that, they swallow things, regurgitate it, and then swallow it again. This allows them to eat things that no other mammals could eat. All cattle are what we call ruminants. What ruminant means is they have 4 compartments to their stomach. They eat their feed, burp it back up, and chew it again, and that's why it's called chewing their cud. If I see a cow that's not chewing her cud, she's either sick or she's in labor having a baby. Those are basically the only 2 times that cows are not chewing their cud. So they eat about 90 pounds of feed a day. They drink between 30 and 50 gallons of water a day. In the old days, they ate basically just hay. Now we make a ration out of many, many different things. I'd like to talk to you today about what a cow could eat as opposed to other mammals. Dairy cows and all cattle are what we call ruminants. Being a ruminant means there's 4 compartments to her stomach. It allows her to eat things that other mammals couldn't digest. In the olden days, dairy cows mostly ate just hay and possibly grains. But to increase production, dairymen have discovered that there's many byproducts of other materials that we can feed our cows, and it not only makes her healthy, it also helps her produce more milk. In the olden days, dairymen basically fed their cows only hay. Alfalfa hay to this day is the #1 favorite food of dairy cows, but to improve production, we've added many byproducts from other commodities that are grown in our area, and the dairy cow, because she's a ruminant, can eat these where other mammals couldn't. This not only keeps her healthy, it also improves milk production. Things like cottonseed. Cottonseed used to just be piled up and filling up our landfills. This is what the cotton balls look like on the plant. Inside each of these cotton balls are seeds that there was no use for. Cottonseed is now the #1 most sought after commodity that we put in our ration. Cottonseed is one of the most beneficial commodities or byproducts that we feed our cattle in the ration. The other things that we use are almond shells and hulls. We feed the hulls and use the shells for bedding. Canola oil becomes pelleted, the byproducts from it, and that gets added to the ration. So I call our commodity barn the cow kitchen. Commodity barn holds many different types of byproducts. We have the almond shells, the almond hulls. We use canola oil, which becomes pelleted. DDG, which is dried distiller's grain. DDG is a byproduct of ethanol. It starts out as corn, then it becomes a biofuel, and what's left over looks something like this. It also comes in a wet form. Other things that we add to our ration are silage, which the big hills that you see on dairies covered in tires, underneath that is corn silage or oat silage. Those are our two major crops that we grow for feed every year. Silage is kind of like the warm oatmeal in the ration. So all of these things get put together, the different hays, bits and pieces of the commodities, and our feeder in a big feed truck mixes it all for each string of cows that have different production levels. When the ration is all put together, it's put in a big mixer truck, and it ends up looking like this. And there's a little bit of everything in there, including minerals and vitamins. Each morning, our feeder makes 6 different recipes, not including the calf ones. Each recipe is for a specific stage of lactation. So our highest producers get one ration, our lower producers get a different ration. Our dry cows, which is the last 2 months when the cows are not being milked and their last 2 months of their pregnancy, they get a much different ration as well. Every morning our feeder makes 6 different recipes, 6 different batches of feed. He puts it all in our mixer truck. He uses our loader to, our feeder every morning mixes 6 different recipes, which meets the needs of all of our cows. When all of these commodities are delivered by big trucks, parts and nails and screws have a tendency to fall off of equipment. And so to keep the cows safe, we feed them a magnet. The magnets look like this. They're smooth, they're round on the edges, and they're fed to the cow one magnet, and she keeps it for the rest of her life. It stays in the big first stomach, which is called the rumen, and it is heavy enough that it doesn't go on to like feed would. Once the ration is all mixed, we call it TMR, which is total mixed ration. Once the ration is made, which we call TMR, total mixed ration, once the ration is mixed, all of the commodities are put together, the hay, the silage, and all of the byproducts. We call this total mixed ration. Once the ration is made, we call it TMR, or total mixed ration. The cows are divided here into 6 different strings, and they're divided by age or production. Cows nowadays have to travel long distances to get to the barns. Not so much here, but on larger dairies, they'll travel up to a quarter of a mile or so just to get to the milk parlor. So once they do, the string is brought in to the barn. First, they're in a holding pen where their udders are washed from sprinklers underneath. Then they go to a second pen where they are drying and waiting to go into the milk parlor. Once they're into the barn and in position to be milked, the first thing we do is spray their udder with an iodine-based disinfectant, and then each udder is dried and primed. And what it means to be primed is we check the milk by hand of every single teat. Once the cows are in the milk parlor, their udders are sprayed with an iodine-based disinfectant, they're wiped dry, and then the cows are primed, which means that we check the milk in all 4 quarters to make sure that it looks healthy. At that point, the machines are put on, and as I mentioned earlier, they're automatic takeoffs. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes for a cow to milk. Once her production is almost nil, then the machine will automatically come off. Then her udder is sprayed again, and because the muscles at the end of the teats are opened from being milked from the milking machine, and that prevents, just like in the baby calves with the iodine, it prevents bacteria going into the cow. It takes us here to milk about 900 cows a good 10 hours a day. So twice a day, our barn is working 20 hours or so a day. In California, the dairy industry is a $6 billion commodity. In California, the dairy industry grosses over $6 billion a year. It's followed only by grapes and almonds. When the milk comes out of a cow, it's 102 degrees, and it's the milk separates. The milk and the fats separate. What When you get milk in the store, it's been homogenized and pasteurized. Pasteurization means that it is quickly heated, which kills any bacteria. When the milk comes out of the cow, it's 102 degrees, but it's quickly cooled down as it is stored in the bulk tank. The milk that comes out of the cow separates. The cream rises to the top and the milk is at the bottom. When the milk is picked up by the creameries or the cheese plants, it's in a raw form and it separates. In order to prevent that, it's pasteurized and homogenized. The pasteurization is a quick heat process that kills any bacteria that might be in the milk, and also they fortify the milk with vitamins. The milk is fortified with vitamin D. The cream that they use is used for ice cream or creams, and the rest is the different types of milk that you're able to buy.